What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fumble. This is not the Fumble Live. We are not there yet, but I figure what is the better way to start the new year than with some friends? So I am starting this new year off with Josh Rodriguez, podcast extraordinaire, podcast host, podcast producer, and word on the street is he still produces music, and I'm trying to tap
Yeah.
into that as well. I just want you to know I haven't forgotten about that.
Okay.
So
Okay. Hold you to that.
yes, you guys can follow me on all things social media at Jackie Ray TV. Josh, tell everybody where they can follow you.
You can find me on all social media platforms at Josh_Rodriguez_.
Now I see you holding your mic over there. Where are you at right now?
I'm on the East Coast. I live in LA, but I'm visiting family on the East Coast, so I have my little to go kit right now. I don't really have my studio set up.
Love it. I love it. We're on the
Yeah.
fly. So that's how we start in this new year. But I just want to dive into this first one because I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. This has been the talk, and it's going to be the talk until we know that he's okay. And it's one of those things that if you've been following this show, I started. We were just talking about this before we got on air. I started on the Fumble on December 18th of 2018, so it's been 4 years now. And that entire time, I have questioned specifically when it comes to the NFL is what these guys go through, especially once they retire. Is it worth it? And I got to tell you that when I saw Hamlin fall, the answer for me was immediately no. It just really hurt my heart to see what happened with Damar Hamlin and just the reaction from his teammates, because yes, we know what he's going through, and the good news is he is still listed in critical condition, but his family is happily reporting that he is on the upward trajectory. I think his uncle even said that at one point he did regain consciousness, but because of his lung capacity and whatnot, they did induce the coma to get the breathing tube down. So obviously, I hate thoughts and prayers, but there's really nothing else we can do right now. So obviously, all our thoughts and prayers are with him. But in addition to that, this year alone, there have been 132 concussions this season alone. We saw Tua go down and be paralyzed for a length of time, and now he's playing again. And on top of that, like I said, the payout after this career is over, and this isn't a career where you retire at 65. Most of these guys are retiring with just as much life in front of them as behind. So the NFL does not really accommodate that. In fact, I'm going to just tell you a few things. The NFL players have to play for 3 years to get benefits after the game, and they can't get those until 55. On average, retired NFL players earn about $43,000 per year. I live in LA, y'all. That ain't gonna get it. I don't know any state right now where that's gonna get it. But and their insurance plan, which they get 5 years after retirement, has about $35,000 in premiums. They do offer $25,000 annually for medical care and $25,000 for mental. But again, if you've ever had any kind of medical emergency, that's a dime in the bucket. So seeing that in real time, I know there was another case where unfortunately someone lost their life in 1971. We were not here to see that, so this is a little different for us. But seeing him go down like this and knowing what we've known for the better part of a decade as far as how violent the NFL is with and the CTE and 99% of players, is the NFL doing enough to A, keep players safe, and B, to make sure they are taken care of when the inevitable happens after they retire?
Well, so to answer your first question, A, are they doing enough to keep players safe? I don't know how you can keep players safe with the nature of the game. I mean, it's just a violent game in general. You can do anything you want. But at the end of the day, if the game is involving someone tackling someone to the ground and hitting somebody, you're going to get injuries like this. I mean, this last injury here, it wasn't the typical like big hit. It was just kind of like a regular football play where T Higgins, lowered his
Mm-hmm.
shoulder and just hit Hamlin in the wrong spot. And what happened. So I don't know if there's really much more the league can do. I mean, you can't hit the quarterback, you can't lead with the head anymore. They penalize late hits. And that's not me giving credit to the league. It's just like that's just what the game is.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer your second question, B, I mean, there's so much more they can do. It's actually pathetic what they don't do for these players. I think once you're an NFL player, you should have healthcare for life. I don't give a damn how many games you play, how many years you play. There should just be no question or no cap about how much money is given to you with healthcare needs. You're playing a game that is making billions of dollars for a company that is a nonprofit, by the way. The NFL
Right.
is a nonprofit organization, which means they don't pay taxes, which means they rake in billions of dollars each year from the revenue that these players make. You cannot tell me you can't afford funding healthcare for everybody who steps onto the field for you for the rest of their life. There's just I don't think people can grasp how much $1 billion is. This is a multi-billion-dollar company. They can afford it. Don't listen to anybody when they say they can't afford it. The bill will be too high. No, that's BS. You can't do it. If you're going to run a game like this, if we're going to continue to have this sport, then you have to look out and protect all the players going forward for any medical bill that they may have, and make sure that they're set up for disability payments for the government as well. I mean, for someone like me, I mean, we don't get too political here, but this is why I advocate for healthcare not being tied into an employer. I think everybody should have healthcare in this country, because what happens is you get, this power in the hands of greedy corporations, and look what they do to their employees. The one of the richest companies in the country, the NFL, look with how they're treating their employees. So, I think it's a larger issue. I think it's more systemic than it is having to do with the NFL being greedy. That is an issue. But if we're just talking about the NFL, they can afford it, and they should be able to do right by their players for sure.
Yeah, I know we try not to, well, as a whole, we try. I don't try because I think everything is connected, and it truly is. When we're
Yeah.
talking about people, politics kind of plays into that. And it's always one of the things that I talk about. If y'all follow me on the Long Beach Post, is it's difficult to really reform healthcare if you don't reform big pharma, because they're directly tied together. Big pharma makes money. Like when you watch
Yeah.
those commercials and it's like, oh, do you have restless leg syndrome? Try this. Side
Right.
effects may include you'll pee on yourself for the rest of your life and have suicidal thoughts. Like it's like,
Right.
what?
Right.
Why do I want to take this? But if that happens, you could take this drug. It's all tied in together, and it's all about business instead of people. And I think if we got back to people,
Yes.
then businesses will grow, because now, I mean, I can't imagine. I don't have children. I don't want to have children just because this world is crazy. But even if I did, I couldn't imagine putting my son, as much as I love the game, I couldn't imagine putting my son in this game. And if I did think about that, the second Hamlin went down, that went out the window. Another thing is people forget that when we're talking about healthcare, these guys didn't just start playing at the NFL. They've been playing
Right.
since Pop Warner. So some of these guys have been taking hits since they were like 9, 10 years old. This is a long standing, which I don't agree with, but I've seen it. I've seen these Pop Warner leagues at like 9, 10.
Yeah.
I
I
think
played
it's,
tackle football when I was 8.
did you? It was 8?
I was 8 years old.
That's too young.
Yeah.
And my thought also goes to Higgins, right? Higgins is the one who issued the
Yeah.
hit, because even though it wasn't his fault, this is such a basic hit. I can't imagine what he might be feeling right now. And I don't think we've really talked about him too much. What do you think Higgins is going through right now?
Man, I just think as a human being, I mean, you have to have some type of guilt. Not that he is guilty, because he's not. I mean, he was just playing football. But I just think it's natural to have some type of guilt deep down inside when you see, a decision you made or something you did had a direct effect on someone being in the hospital, whether it was your fault or not. I think you could tell T Higgins to you're blue in the face, hey man, you did nothing wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. But that doesn't take away the fact that he probably feels really guilty, that he feels horrible for him and his family. I think that's a natural human emotion. And I think that, we as a fan base or fans of the NFL should also, like you said, be aware of what T Higgins is going through. Not that this is as serious, but that can lead to certain things like depression. And there's a slippery slope too that can happen with T Higgins, especially if things go south for Damar. So I feel bad for him, and I think we should rally around T as well, and make sure that it's known that he's loved, and that we all know that it's not his fault, and just keep reinforcing that message to him.
Yeah, I think the one positive thing that came out with this whole thing is, as a country, we can't join forces on a damn thing, but we seem to come together on this one. And I
Yep.
think as a whole, we donated something like $15 million to his charity. It's a beautiful thing to see. I don't know how we maintain that energy without tragedy. I would like to hope that
Right.
we could find a way, but we're going to come back with another segment later in the afternoon, you guys. This next one's going to be a fun one, because I'm going to put on my Haterade hat. Y'all know I keep it on standby. And so we're going to do that in the next segment. Josh is going to rejoin me. So make sure you tune in later this afternoon to the Fumble, and we'll see you in a minute.